You have to get out your comfort zone. I mean, it's a two-way street, right? It's a matter of, hey, how much are you willing to invest in yourself for your business?
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
And welcome back to the Appraiser Coach Podcast. Got a guest in the wings. Can't wait to bring him on the screen. My name is Dustin Harris, and I am your host. First, want to pause and remind you that we're sponsored by a couple of great companies. Of course, Alamode being one of them. I'm going to share with you an experience I had with Alamode in just a moment. And then, of course, OREP. I'm going to share another experience I just had with OREP, who is my E&O of choice. We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. But first, I want to bring on a friend of mine, new friend of mine. His name is Chris Posey. And Chris, welcome to the program, my friend. I'm glad you made the time.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
You know, you are, I introduced you as a new friend of mine. This is the first time you and I have actually spoken, other than a little bit to beforehand to set this up. But you're not going to be a new friend to a lot of people who are on social media specifically, and you may be other places, but specifically Facebook. I'm going to get to that in just a little bit. But first, I want to pause and just talk a little bit about you. Where are you located? Let's start with that.
Thank you. I am located in the south suburbs of Chicago, Oak Lawn to be precise. My area varies, so I pretty much do all of the Chicagoland area as well as the various surrounding suburbs. It's not uncommon for me to go maybe 40, 50 miles out from the home office to an appointment.
Right on.
So I've covered various counties within Illinois as well.
So you do a little urban and maybe even some suburban, and would you even call some of your areas rural?
I haven't gotten to rural yet, so primarily I'm city and suburban.
Got it. Okay. How did you get into appraisal? Let's talk about your beginnings.
Sure. So back in the early 2000s, when everyone was buying income properties because of the rates and it was readily available, I would notice an appraiser would come out, was at the property maybe 5 minutes and left. And so by my wife and I third purchase of an investment property, the light bulb went off. And I said, I need to look into this because it appeared as if it was an easy side hustle, if you will,
Right.
just to be frank.
Yeah, sure.
I learned when I took my classes, I started taking my classes. That was either late 2004 or early Q1 2005. The instructor I had, whose name was Dr. Sam Martin, still friends with him to this day. I learned that those appraisers were not appraising accordingly. So I thank Dr. Sam Martin for teaching me how to do reports ethically.
There you go.
So at the time, I was still working in corporate America. So my blueprint was I had the 9-to-5 job, and then I would do appraisals after work and on weekends. Fast forward, I was able to leave the corporate job in 2021. I left and solely do appraisals as my sole business, but I just don't limit myself to residential and lender work.
Okay.
You have to diversify and expand. You're aware of the market we're in now as far as when it comes to lender work and the stuff being pushed out in regards to hybrids and property data collectors. So I do a lot of private appraisal work on the residential side. And I also do, even though I am a certified residential real estate appraiser since 2005, I also do commercial appraisals by partnering with a certified general real estate appraiser.
Okay,
So
I want to put a pin in that because I want to come back to that.
Sure.
You hit on a gold mine that I want to talk about later on. But continue with your story.
Yeah. So, and the reason why I did that is, again, you don't want one pipeline.
Hmm.
Remember when the rates are very low, 2s and 3%, a lot of residential appraisers, they many had to turn down work because it was so much. Well, what happened when the rates went up? When the rates went up, the number of refinances dropped dramatically, and a lot of purchases were halted, if you will, for a period of time. And so many of our colleagues who were strictly dependent upon lender work or AMC work, they didn't have any work. So for me, I never wanted to put myself in a position to be dependent upon one pipeline. There's a book I referred to that I had to read when I was in corporate America by a great friend, a manager as well as a great friend of mine, Dina Bobolos. It was called "Who Moved My Cheese?"
Oh yeah, I love
And
it.
it's a very simple book. Basically, it discusses change, and change happens, right? So you have to be able to adapt to change. It's up to you as to how you adapt.
Hmm.
You're either going to go along with what's in place as far as lender work and AMC work, or you're going to do the needful to ensure that you expand your skill set and diversify so you can remain relevant.
Amen. I did a workshop years ago where I actually had a rubber block of cheese and a mouse,
Mhm.
and did a whole presentation on the who moved my cheese. I usually give out the book when I was at these presentations. To me, it was written for appraisers. I mean, you won't find the word appraiser in that book, but to me, it was all about our industry and how we are constantly changing. And you can choose to either change with, or you can choose status quo, which brings me, Chris, to my next question. And the reason I wanted to have you on the program. I mentioned a little bit in the beginning as I was introducing you that you will not be unfamiliar to some people in the appraisal world. And the reason for that is if they're on social media, specifically on Facebook, you're putting yourself out there, man. And you're not selling anything. You're not advertising for anything. You're just putting yourself out there on a pretty regular basis as being, hey, I'm an appraiser. And here's the difference between what I see on most social media and you, Chris. Positivity. You bring to the table this idea that appraisers can be happy. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, sure. So, and thank you for that. So, one of the things I noticed when I joined a couple of the appraisal groups that I'm in on social media, it was a lot of negativity, if you will, badgering the AMCs or a lender or just a lot of negative connotation. Then other people would chime in on that. And don't get me wrong, I was part of that as well when I first joined the various groups. But then after a while of that, I sat back and said, well, okay, does this change anything?
Mm.
Me or the other colleagues complaining about X, Y, and Z, is that making any change to my business, to our profession? So what I had decided to do was I flipped it and decided to take a positive approach as far as whether it be just putting something out there as far as saying, hey, um, have a great day, or showing that I'm being active with getting assignments, I'm being active with networking, which is one of the main things I push out there in our groups as far as networking, because that is key in our profession. And speaking to the outcome of the various network opportunities that I've completed.
Mm.
And because of that, I've had a number of colleagues, reach out to me offline, will DM me or reach out to me directly, giving me feedback as far as thanking me for the commentary, or just motivated them to think outside the box, think beyond lender work and AMC work. And so because of that, I just kept it going. One of the things I noticed is, and I'm sure you've seen this as well, is we always see the comment about, oh, our profession is dying.
Mhm.
There's nothing left. I'm leaving, and I'll chime in and I'll say, well, the profession isn't dying. It's changed for lender work and AMC work. So if that's your only pipeline, then yes, you need to make a change. Or if you want to leave, that is your decision. But there's plenty of opportunities out here if you're willing to network. I shared a variety of things. Most recently, one networking opportunity I spoke about was December of last year. I'm a member of, well, one of the many things I'm a member of is the Oaklawn Chamber of Commerce.
Hmm.
Why did I join? Networking, you know.
Yeah.
The fee wasn't that much. It was like maybe $100 a year, I think, like that. And so one of the members, a law firm who was with the Chamber of Commerce, had a holiday event at their office. And initially, I wasn't going to go. All right. Then I said to myself, well, Chris, you keep preaching about networking. Get off your butt and go.
Right.
So I
Be a
went.
man of your word, right? Walk the
Yeah,
walk.
exactly. I have to practice what I preach, right?
Sure.
So I went, shook hands, waved, and while I took pictures with the Grinch and Santa Claus, and while I was there, I was talking to one lady. She asked, "What do I do?" And I explained to her that I'm an appraiser and X, Y, and Z. And this lady said to me, "Oh, I need to get you on my list of approved appraisers for probate court." This lady was a judge.
Nice.
So so fast forward, I got on their list for probate court and actually had received two appraisals to do for probate court last week.
Beautiful.
All because I went to that event and just spoke.
Yep.
So if I didn't go, that opportunity would not have presented itself to me. So, and then I explain to folks, the networking thing doesn't happen overnight, and not every network event you go to is going to bring something immediately, or maybe not ever at all. But how do you know if you don't go out there to network? Plant the seeds so the flowers can grow.
We're talking with Chris Posey out of Chicago. Chris, when we get back, I want to talk a little bit more about this line of thinking and specifically about the changes that are happening in the appraisal world and what your recommendations, specific recommendations and recommendations for appraisers would be. First, I want to pause and remind you that we are sponsored by a great company called A La Mode. I told you at the beginning, I teased this, that I was going to share with you an experience. And the experience is very straightforward. As you all know, I'm going through my own transition from one company to another in the appraisal world. And as a consequence, I was on a corporate account, and then I needed to switch over to a personal account. Folks, I cannot tell you how easy it was to do. First of all, there was no choice in my mind. I've used A La Mode forever. I love the tools that it brings to the table. It was literally a phone call, an email, and a button, and I was on. That's how easy it is to switch over to A La Mode. Check them out by going to alamode.com. That's ALAMODE.com or 800 A La Mode. Speaking of easy, the other thing that I needed to do was switch from OREP to OREP. With the old company that I was with, we were with OREP because it's the best. When I went out on my own again, I wanted to do OREP again. Again, I sent an email. I got an application. By that afternoon, I kid you not, I had a signed certification with my new E&O. That's how easy it is to get your own E&O through the best company out there, OREP Insurance. Check them out. Start with their website. It's orep.org. That's OREP.org. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. My name is Dustin Harris. I'm your host of the Appraiser Coach podcast, and my guest today is Chris Posey out of Chicago. Chris, I noticed something, and I hope I don't embarrass you with this, but you got an award recently that I thought was pretty darn cool. And so I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you to share that with the world, if you don't mind.
Sure. So again, one of the many organizations, I'm a part of many organizations in our profession. One is I'm a member of the Appraisal Institute. I actually hold the SRA designation with them. And so
congratulations, by the way. It's a lot of hard work.
Thank you. So in any organization I'm in, I'm pretty active, as we should be, right? And so this past Friday, the Chicago chapter of the Appraisal Institute hosted our installation dinner. So last calendar year, I was the alternative regional rep. So this year, I'm now the regional rep. And in addition to recognizing the colleagues who have obtained their designation, it was a surprise. They also awarded individuals a distinguished award for their contribution and services to the profession. So that was not known. I didn't know whatsoever that this was coming. They actually, as they had the PowerPoint slide up, one of the individuals, they had jumped up too many slides, and so it was a picture of me up on the slide, and I said to myself, "Why's my picture up there?"
What's
And
that
come
doing?
to find out, it's because I was awarded the Distinguished Member Award. So that was very humbling.
Very cool, man. Very cool. I know that's probably not something you wanted to share, so I hope you're okay with me poking the bear a little bit. But I think it's cool that you're so involved in various things. You said I'm involved in many different organizations. I'm going to play devil's advocate for just a little bit. And Chris, you should know that I spend a lot of time on this microphone encouraging appraisers to get active, to get networking, to get out there and get to know other appraisers, but to get to know other business people and get to know other movers and shakers in your community, right?
Mm-hmm.
That being said, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate, and I'm going to say that I'm one of Dustin's listeners that is skeptical. Okay. I'm that curmudgeon that, yeah, I'll listen to Dustin's podcast while I drive around taking comp photos, but I'm not going to get out there and go to a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and I'm not going to become a part of the Institute, and I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do that. Talk to us about real results, right? Not just platitudes that, hey, if you get involved, you get work. And I know you gave one example, right? Is it worth it? I guess that's the question, Chris. Is it worth it? All the time that you spend networking, is it worth it?
I would say for my business model, absolutely. Because I think back to when, before I joined any organization, like most of our colleagues, they are in a silo. So it's just, they have their business, they have their clients, which are typically a lender or the AMC or AMCs. And to really expand your skill set as well as expand your diversification of other opportunities as far as work, you really have to network. If I didn't do what I did now as far as engage or get involved at least with one organization, right? I wouldn't be in the position I'm in now. Chances are I probably would have never even left corporate America to just strictly focus on this. So I think it's definitely beneficial. And to be honest, with the exception of the Appraisal Institute, the other organizations that I am a part of, I was actually asked by a member of those various groups that I'm in, if I would be interested in being a part of that, organization. So, and that was because those individuals saw what I was putting out there on social media. So, for example, now I do relocation appraisals. Well, that would have never came about had a colleague of mine, Craig Gilbert, who sits on the West Coast in California, if he would have never reached out to me asking me if I wanted to join RAC, Relocation Appraisal and Consultants. Yeah, so it's if you're a business owner, you know, when the rates were very low, an appraiser could just sit at their desk and wait for an AMC to send them work.
Right.
You didn't have to go. You'd have to go get it. The game has changed, right? You're either going to do the hybrid reports with the property data collection or data collector, or you're going to network to uncover other opportunities. Now, I've heard some individuals say, well, in my market is X, Y, and Z, or the AMC's rule, yada, yada, yada. And I thought the same thing in my market about the AMCs.
Yeah.
And it's not true.
No, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. It's not true. It was presented like that, but it's not true. If you put the work in, and again, it won't happen overnight, but it will happen if you put the work in. I'm willing to bet on myself. So that is why I'm involved, because I know something eventually will come out of it. And plus, for me, I just enjoy what I'm doing. I don't look at this as work. When you're passionate about something, you don't consider it work.
I love it. So there's a lot of appraisers out there now, and you've alluded to this already, that are in a slump, feeling negative, even talking about getting out. What advice would you give the appraiser who understands that the cheese is being moved, but they don't really know what to do about it?
Sure, I give that advice all the time in the post, as well as individuals who reach out to me directly, and as well as individuals I may speak to on the side after, a meeting. I tell them, I'll give you a perfect example, like a newbie, right, who's coming into it. The one thing I preach to them is, this is great. You're pursuing this profession for the residential side. Don't stop there. Do not stop there. Always look to say, okay, what's next? What else can I do to add to my skill set? You don't want to, for me, I don't remain comfortable. I'm always looking at, okay, what else can I do to make myself stand out from my colleagues that help make me more marketable to potential new clients that I may not have been, aware of. So I would tell folks, you have to be able to, if you can, weather the storm. You definitely have to get out your comfort zone, because just doing your typical residential appraisal, well, in my opinion, that's pretty much, if your simple residential homes will be automated, in my opinion. Got to be an AVM or just a hybrid or a desktop. So yeah, so those, I can see those being more automated, which is fine. But there's so many other opportunities: divorce work, estates, guardianship, immigration, pre-listing services, relocations. It is endless. Probate court. It's endless, the opportunities that we have. And then something else I speak on as well is, a lot of appraisers, we just know about appraising homes, which is, you can make good money doing that.
Sure.
Many aren't aware of the other disciplines that exist out there: business valuation, machinery, gems and jewelry, art, commercial, boats, farm, ag. So again, you have to get out your comfort zone. I mean, it's a two-way street, right? It's a matter of, hey, how much are you willing to invest in yourself for your business?
I love it, my friend. Chris Posey, thank you for taking time. Thank you for being a positive voice out there amidst the negativity. Thank you for reminding each of us that change is needed if we want to be successful in the future. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's stay in touch, my friend.
Hey, thank you. Pleasure. Thank you for inviting me for this podcast. Truly appreciate it.
Let's do it again.
Definitely.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.